What is going on YouTube? Bakura here, and I'm bringing you an Injustice 2 breakdown video. This video is going to contain a small amount of gameplay from the beta that I recorded over the last couple hours, as well as some information that has been revealed, basically everything we know about Injustice 2 so far. As you probably already know if you've been following the game at all, two very big things just happened recently. And that is Black Canary was announced for Injustice 2. She is the next character right after Robin, and I think we already know that Poison Ivy and Bane are going to be in there from the trailer. But in addition to that, we've also gotten news that Blue Beetle actually joined the beta, and I actually was able to get some matches in. Now granted, these are my first couple matches that you're going to be seeing here, but guys, I gotta tell you, Blue Beetle, he's a fun character, he's awesome. Anybody that's been looking forward to Blue Beetle, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with him. He does have some issues. That's going to be covered in a different video completely, but I'll sum it up to say he feels very weak, like his combo damage is very low, and a lot of his normals are very unsafe on block. I believe 112 or 111 is the only string that is safe on block, so I guess we'll see what becomes of the Blue Beetle when the game comes out, but let's go ahead and get into the breakdown. Let's start with the simple, easy stuff that everybody already knows, and that's the story, okay? The story of the game is going to take place 5 years after Injustice 1. If you need a recap on Injustice 1, the TLDR of that story was Joker set off a bomb, killing off most of Metropolis. This included Lois Lane and Superman's yet unborn child, which caused Superman to fly into a rage and become a tyrant. Batman forms an insurgency, an underground rebellion that was led against Supes to try and stop him and the other superheroes that fell in line with him. So, in this new story, Batman and his insurgency are fighting against a new organization called the Society. Not really has been much revealed about them, but Brainiac seems to be the big bad villain of the game so far, and from some of the intro dialogues, it sounds like Superman might be filing behind Brainiac, which will be interesting to see. Moving on from the story, we'll talk about general gameplay things now, and this is the meat and potatoes of what everybody cares about with Injustice. How is the game going to play? What is it going to offer? You know, how is the online? Things like that. Well, I can tell you from the beta impressions that the online does run very smooth. There have been a couple of hiccups, just a few minor hiccups that led to a little bit of a lag spike in a couple of matches, but it wasn't anything too terrible, and I never really felt like the matches were out of my control. We do know that there is a loot system in place, as shown in the beta. NetherRealms has decided to call it the gear system. It has a lot of stat changing and appearance altering gears that also give different color schemes. No matter how you feel about this is going to be a thing. Online matchmaking, however, will have a playlist for people that want to play with gear and people that do not want to play gear, which is the competitive playlist or ranked matches, I'm assuming, will not have gear unless they have 2 ranked matchmaking searches, which would just be a little bit weird, but I guess it wouldn't be far-fetched. So I believe a lot of people's opinions right now is just that the loot system is a little broken. There is some really janky things about it, like, you know, does Superman really need more damage on his eye lasers? Does Supergirl really need to do more damage with her trait? You know, things like that. Like, I don't know, it was an interesting idea for NetherRealm to implement, but I really do hope that the online matchmaking is that's not the primary focus of the online matchmaking. It'd be a little bit disappointing to see that, you know, that NetherRealm would go down that route, but they have already come out and said that there is going to be a separate playlist, so there you go. If you don't like the gear system, you don't like the loot, anything like that, you can play just the default characters in that playlist. Like I said, we don't know if it's going to be ranked or if it's going to be unranked. We're not sure yet. The biggest and most important thing about the online matchmaking, however, and I think the thing that everybody wants to know is, does it run good? And if the beta is any kind of implication whatsoever, then yes, actually, the online is going to run fairly well. As you all probably know, with NetherRealm's previous games, they're not the best when it comes to netcode. Then again, not a lot of fighting games have really nailed a perfect netcode. I would say until probably Killer Instinct on the Xbox One, to be perfectly honest. Season 1 Killer Instinct had a flawless netcode. Literally every game I played ran 1080, 720, whatever, 60 frames. There was never any droppage. It was great. And I do not have the best of internet, okay? I have like maybe 5 down and like 2 up. My internet is garbage where I live, okay? And these games run fine for me online. And I have talked to a lot of people I've played against, and I have not, there hasn't been lag on their side. So it's just a testament to how good the netcode is. And the fact that the Injustice 2 beta is very stable compared to, say, the first Street Fighter V beta that launched, where it was nigh unplayable for the first like 2 or 3 days of the beta. That frustrated me because I was looking forward to Street Fighter V. But personal issues aside, I haven't really noticed that I've lost any matches because of a connection issue or something. It's always been my own fault, or the other person knew their character better. Like, for example, in some of the Blue Beetle matches you're going to be watching, I am fighting a Batman. And it's very, very clear that this guy played Batman either in Injustice 2, or he's been playing a lot of, he's been playing a lot of Injustice 1 and he knows Batman in that, or he's been playing a lot of Injustice 2 and he's very familiar with kind of how Batman moves, what he does, things like that. So when I lose, it's generally because, okay, I am unsure of my character's combos yet. This is the first time I've ever used them, and I don't know what's punishable, what isn't punishable, what I can just throw out, what's my best wake-up option. Things like that are fairly unknown. So I never really felt like a loss was out of my control. Either the person was just better than me, or I made a few wrong decisions. So with that in mind, GGPO is actually what is responsible for Injustice 2's great online play. And that stems from the beta that actually happened with MKX. When they upgraded to MKXL, NetherRealm took Mortal Kombat X's kind of busted, janky online and just sort of, they reformatted it. They took it down and they said, okay, we're going to make this playable. And they changed it to a GGPO system, and now it's great. As far as I know, I personally don't play Mortal Kombat X online, but a ton of streamers I watch and a ton of people I talk to that do play Mortal Kombat X have told me that the game runs flawlessly. It's amazing. It's perfect. So, online play. Definitely going to be a positive aspect, I would say, of Injustice 2. It might get some small tweaks here and there. NetherRealm is pretty infamous about tweaking their game 1,000,000,001 times, but overall, I'd say it runs really well. It's right up there with some of the best fighting games this generation that have good netcode. Moving on to more grounded things that have already been announced. The roster. Let's really nail home information about that roster, because that is what is going to make or break the sales of Injustice 2. Tekken 7 is right on the heels of Injustice 2. It comes out in June, which I believe is the month, yes, because Injustice comes out in May. So June is Tekken. And if Injustice doesn't have the roster and the online play and the staying power it needs, Tekken 7 is going to stomp it. A lot of people have been waiting for Tekken 7, myself included, and I really want to see Injustice do well compared to Tekken 7. I don't particularly care which one's going to sell better, because I'm going to play both anyway, but to a casual audience, it is definitely going to matter. So, NetherRealms has come out and stated that due to Injustice 1's roster having a lot of the more familiar characters like Batman, Catwoman, Raven, Deathstroke, Joker, Harley, Superman, Lex Luthor, you know, a lot of people that if you're even the smidge familiar with comic books, you'll know their name. Now that those people, well, I shouldn't say that because I personally didn't know who Black Adam was because I haven't read any of the Shazam comics, but once I realized, he's a Shazam-related character, he turns out to be like the main nemesis or something, I think. Again, I'm not personally versed on the Shazam comic line, but it had a lot of really easily recognizable characters, which is what made Injustice 1 a really good game. Unfortunately, Injustice 1 suffered from NetherRealm netcode at the time before they got their shit together with Mortal Kombat X. So, the online kind of suffered. The DLC characters were also a really big addition to the game. People were clamoring for people like Batgirl, and Zatanna, and I think Zod? Lobo was the big one that everybody wanted. Martian Manhunter was another big one that everybody wanted. And then Scorpion, I believe, was the other DLC character. Which, you know, it's NetherRealm, it's their game, they're allowed to do whatever they want. The simple fact of the matter is that Scorpion was the most downloaded Injustice character of them all, and I don't know if that's a testament to truly how broken Scorpion was in that game before his nerf, or if they ever nerfed him, I'm not sure. Or if it was because of brand recognition, and people were just going, wow, I really want to play Scorpion in this game. Because he did legitimately look cool, and he did have a cool move set, and his combos were very easy. But, again, that's another topic for another video. In this roster, NetherRealm has said because of Injustice 1 having so many recognizable characters, they're going to try and include more obscure characters and possible third-party characters. Ed Boon has recently come out on Twitter a couple months ago and teased Spawn, actually, as being a third-party character, which will blow me the hell away because I love Spawn. I love the Spawn comic line. I even love the shitty live-action Spawn movie that came out, like, forever ago before we were all born, and it was terrible. But it was great. I loved Spawn. I thought he was really cool. And it'd be really awesome to see him in this game fighting people like Batman and Superman and stuff like that. That'd be really awesome. And we've already kind of seen more obscure characters be included. I use the term obscure lightly because there are really dedicated fans out there that want to see some of these characters. But, for example, people like Black Canary and Blue Beetle, people like that are being included now and getting that representation because I think, honestly, NetherRealm just doesn't want another fiasco of Injustice 1's roster where it was like Batman and Friends the fighting game. Because, like, nearly for every character that was a different representation, there was at least a Batman character to represent as well. So for, like, every Ares, you had Catwoman. You know what I mean? For Lex Luthor, you had Bane, you know, you had Solomon Grundy, you had a bunch of just Batman heroes and anti-heroes and villains, as opposed to a lot of these other rich characters that could be included. We'll talk more about future inclusions in a little bit, but there is going to be 9 post-launch DLC characters, not including Darkseid, who is the pre-order bonus character. For pre-ordering any version of Injustice 2, you will gain access to Darkseid, similar to Goro in Mortal Kombat X. This is cool. Now, where this gets really interesting is with the different editions of Injustice 2 that there is going to be. There's a standard edition, which just comes with Darkseid. Then there's an upgraded, I believe it's a limited edition, which comes with a special skin for Supergirl. Which, if you can't tell by the thumbnail of this video, is Power Girl. Power Girl is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, DC character of all time. She's cool, she's sexy, she's powerful, she's everything that I thought Superman lacked, because I didn't like Superman growing up. I was a Batman kid. You know what I mean? I will always and forever be a Batman kid growing up, but Power Girl, when I first started reading her comics, she really caught my eye, and I thought it was really cool that she was I believe she was a clone of Supergirl, which was kind of interesting because Supergirl in and of itself was a really neat concept, you know? And that limited edition gives you access to the Power Girl skin for Kara, which is going to completely change her character up, appearance and voice-wise. She will have the same moveset as Power Girl, but she will have or as Supergirl, excuse me, but she will have a new voice actor and new costumes, or a new costume. I don't know if there will be multiple, they haven't said yet, but that is awesome. And it's not something we haven't seen before. They've done it in Injustice 1 with Hal Jordan actually being Jon Stewart. Hal Jordan being the normal Green Lantern and Jon Stewart being a skin to replace him. That is also present in the Collector's Edition, which is the next edition of Injustice 2 that costs exactly $100. It comes with the Power Girl skin previously mentioned, as well as the Jon Stewart skin for Hal Jordan, and the reverse Flash skin for Barry the Flash. So these are really neat inclusions. Jon Stewart, I feel like, was just a, hey, we had this in Injustice 1, so let's bring it back in Injustice 2 kind of thing. I do feel like Power Girl and Reverse Flash are definitely influenced by the television shows. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think Power Girl is actually in the Supergirl show, but the fact that these shows do exist and they are popular definitely led to the inclusion of these skins. So now that we know that NetherRealms has announced this is going to be the biggest roster of any NetherRealm game so far, and that there's 9 post-launch DLC characters, not including Darkseid, with these premium skins, the roster looks like this so far. Aquaman, Atrocitus, Bane, Batman, Black Canary, Blue Beetle, Brainiac, Darkseid, Deadshot, Flash, Gorilla Grodd, Green Lantern, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Robin, Supergirl, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So you have your Justice League, you have Aquaman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash. Literally all we're missing is Martian Manhunter, and you can better believe he's going to be in the game because he was really popular in the first game. There would be almost no reason not to include Martian Manhunter. So there is some smaller representation here, like I said, with Blue Beetle and Black Canary being more obscure characters, and with Deadshot being a Batman character, but usually Deadshot's outshined by Deathstroke, Slade, so it is nice to see him get representation. I know it's literally because of Suicide Squad, and you can argue the same thing with Injustice 1, with Superman getting the Man of Steel costume and a couple of those characters being included. It's the same kind of thing we saw with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where they shied away from X-Men characters in favor of Avengers because the Avengers movies were really popular at the time. They still are. But, as mentioned before, with this roster, there are endless possibilities. NetherRealm definitely needs to listen to their fan base here, though. Because as I mentioned before, to a casual audience, the roster is what matters. I want to be able to pick up this fighting game and be like, okay, I have a relatively popular superhero in mind. Are they in this game? Or are they not in this game? That will determine the buy for a lot of casual fighting game people. People do know that NetherRealm fighters are not the hardest to pick up and play. They're difficult once you get into the nuance of things, like when should I block, when should I break, what are my frames, what's plus, what's minus. But casual audiences will not care about that. Casual audiences will not care if Supergirl is garbage in the final release, or if Robin is just the best character in the game. Because it's pretty awesome that it's Damian and not any of the other Robins, and I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but it is my opinion. You do not have to share it. So, that is what the casual audience is going to care about. And whether we like it or not, the competitive scene, especially for NetherRealm games, do not always dictate the sales of a NetherRealm game. the casual audience picking it up, especially for the superhero branding, is what's going to determine the outcome of this game, and just generally whether or not it sells well and does well in a tournament setting. I believe Mortal Kombat X was at EVO one time. I honestly can't remember. But with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap up this video. The final possible roster inclusion that was teased was actually Sub-Zero. And this would be interesting because including Sub-Zero would kind of negate the possibility of Killer Frost coming back, I think. And a lot of people thought Mr. Freeze, Victor, would be a possible inclusion as well. But if they decide to include Sub-Zero, it'd be a little bit redundant, you know what I mean? There wouldn't be a whole lot of different things that Sub-Zero could do that Victor Freeze wouldn't do, or that Killer Frost wouldn't do, you know what I mean? So, we'll see what NetherRealm does in that regard, but in general, that's it, guys. My personal impression is that this is going to be a big fighting game, whether or not you stand behind it or not. I hope everybody's favorite heroes get into this game because it is definitely something great. Albeit there are some reused assets, like Black Canary playing very similar to Sonya, but we saw this with Injustice 1 and Mortal Kombat 9 and Injustice 1 to Mortal Kombat X. It's really not a surprise. NetherRealm's going to do that kind of stuff. As long as they change it just enough, I think a lot of people will still be okay with it, you know? So, that's it, guys. That's everything we know on the table right now about Injustice 2. I hope you're all as excited as I am, because this game's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to get into training mode and really hammer out my Supergirl combos so I don't look like a total scrub. And I'm probably going to pick up Blue Beetle. He's actually a whole lot of fun. I just got to get his back to forward motions down, because I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with back to forward motions in NetherRealm games. So that can all be fixed with practice. And ultimately, if you do pick up this game, don't get discouraged. Just keep playing it, keep practicing. Play for the love of the game, not for the love of winning. You know what I mean? And if you don't like this game, well, hopefully you find something that will turn you onto it, because I'd love to see this game succeed. All in all, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you'll stay tuned for more Injustice 2.